Welcome to the 18th week after Pentecost. It's Thursday, September the 26th, 2024. This is the Manna at the Tap podcast, where we as a community actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. The daily lectionary readings we explore together is the manner designed to nurture our spiritual growth and provide the sustenance our souls need. I'm Gloria, your fellow traveler on this spiritual journey, and together we offer and receive insights and interpretations from these readings, enriching our spiritual lives and leaving us spiritually fed and satisfied. The lectionary reading begins a journey through the book of Esther. Let's take some time to set the context. The book is set during the reign of the Persian king Ahasuerus, also named Xerxes. The author of the book of Esther is unknown, but he was very familiar with the royal Persian court and its customs, having an eyewitness perspective. Jewish historians date the writing at least 80 years after the time described. During the events of the book of Esther, a remnant of Jews had returned to Judah, and they were struggling to re-establish temple worship according to the law of Moses. But Mordecai, along with many other Jews, was content to stay in Susa, the capital of Persia. Now, God's name is not mentioned in the book of Esther, but that is not to say that God was absent. His presence permeated much of the story as though he was behind the scenes, coordinating the circumstances to make his will happen. The author was not trying to write a historical book in the modern sense, and it can be considered a combination of a wisdom tale, historical novella, romance, and diaspora novel. The story takes the tone of mocking, exaggerations, and lucrative situations. Chapter 1 of Esther opens with three banquets. The operative word in chapter 1 is excessive. King Ahasuerus, meaning mighty man, ruled over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. His royal throne was in the capital city of Persia, Susa, and it was the setting for the first banquet for the officials who ruled over the provinces. It was an excessive drinking party of 180 days. One would think that after 180 days, it would be time to end the party and get back to work. But the king gave the second banquet, this time for 7 days, for the men who lived in Susa. He ordered the royal wine to flow without restraint, and each guest was allowed to drink without restrictions. Queen Vashti gave a banquet number 3 for the women of the palace, but there is no comment on the nature of this banquet. The author tells us the heart of the king was merry with wine by the 7th day. The heart in Hebrew is the seat of emotions and intellect and the wellspring of the will. The king wanted Queen Vashti to come to the men's banquet wearing just the royal crown so he could show her off. He has saved the best for the last. And Queen Vashti will crown his 187 days as his prime piece of property as he continues his excessive style. He will send 7 eunuchs to fetch Vashti, But there's one problem. She will not come. King Ahasuerus' name means mighty man, but he has been humiliated by Queen Vashti's refusal to come to him. He becomes furious and burned with rage. The king will consult with 7 experts to help him deal with the crisis in the palace. And he will seek the opinion of his legal experts on what must be done to Queen Vashti according to the law. One can begin to see the powerlessness of the king. He has to rely on the advice of one of the experts to tell him what the law says. Memucan will interpret Vashti's defiance as a crime against all the men in the empire, thus deflecting the focus from the king, and now all the men in the empire are humiliated. And he warns against a copycat crime by the women in their homes against their husbands. So he proposes that the king issue a royal decree that Vashti will never again enter the king's presence. As we reach the end of chapter 1 of Esther, the king's men rush to the post office before it closes. The high and mighty Ahasuerus has been defied, manipulated, and humiliated. He is out of touch with reality. How may we interpret chapter 1 of Esther? Some of the text seems humorous, but we're beginning to see a dark side to more serious mandates to come. Women throughout the Persian Empire suffered because of the king and his advisors' extreme arrogance in creating an absurd and cruel law. We secretly wish for the lifestyle of the rich and the famous. But Psalm 119, verses 36 to 37, is a plea we might want to embrace. Turn my heart towards your statutes and not towards selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word.